welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me are two people who love to drink beer with their pinkies out and dance to disco music after long days at the office. It's Megan Hoffmeyer and John Levingood.
I do that on days off too.
So we're talking about the Manitou today, and there's a scene in this movie where Tony Curtis is just blaring disco music. He pours his beer into a fancy glass, and he's just drinking beer with his pinky out and jamming around his apartment.
I gotta tell you, for someone who thinks they're so classy that they're going pinkies up home alone, he's wearing like his white undershirt after he took off his warlock robe. And when he pours that beer, first off, he throws the beer. Yeah. He throws it in the air and then opens it immediately. And then when he pours it with reckless abandon so that his glass is like 4/5 head.
Well, and he has this really fancy, I think it's a wine glass, but, it's a chalice, so he doesn't get a lot of actual beer in there.
Right, it's what you would drink like a Belgian out of.
But when you
like a double.
When you're, like a quad in there, like when when you go to a restaurant, you order one and it's only 10 ounces, but if you get a Pilsner, it's like 30.
Yeah.
That's good, though. So if you're going to be dancing, if you're going to be disco dancing in your house after a long warlocking, you probably want to have a chalice, and you want to fill it about a third full, because while you're swinging, while you're moving, while you're grooving, you don't want to be spilling beer.
Right, and then when it swirls, if it like hits the side of the glass and there's any like splatter, the head will catch the splatter.
So maybe he's done this a lot.
I think he's just trying to set the tone for us. He's a fancy guy.
Yeah, he's a fancy guy who knows what he's doing with this beer.
One of the notes I had about this movie
was
definitely
I think
happy hour.
He wants us to think he's fancy.
That was happy hour for him.
Hour?
Yeah.
I think he practices. I think he's the type of guy that when he goes to bars, he gets a full drink and then he dances, and everyone marvels at about how he doesn't spill any of the beverage. So he's doing all the moves, like he's doing the shuffle. So when the shuffle comes on, he does the entire shuffle without spilling a drop of Pilsner.
But I maintain that he is less fancy than he wants people to think he's fancy.
We just saw Into the Spider-Verse, and it reminds me of Jake Johnson, Spider-Man, walking up to the shed, and the fancy elevator pops up. He goes, "Well, this is pretentious." Yeah. I can picture him having that reaction to Tony Curtis pouring his beer and having happy hour at his house.
Yeah. Man. So I want to recreate that scene and just not see if I can not spill any beer.
I mean, you do that like every Friday.
I mean, I did it earlier, but no cameras were on me.
When I first saw this movie years ago, and then just rewatching it for this, it's so funny that you get 5 minutes or so into this movie, and then that happens, and you're just sitting there with this silly smile on your face, like, what kind of movie exactly am I watching today?
When I was reading reviews for this film, a lot of people, not a lot, but the few people who reviewed this, did not really like Tony Curtis's performance. One guy said he wrecked it because it seems like he didn't care. And then the rest of the people are being super serious. And, Michael Anara, all these people, Susan Strasberg, are playing it super serious. And then you have Tony Curtis, pinky dancing.
In all fairness, with the exception of that opening scene when we meet him, he is handed some of the most ridiculous lines in the movie.
My favorite part, one of my favorite lines is when the doctor's talking about, so there's this doctor, and he goes, "Listen, I'm the best, and I have Cadillacs to prove it." And he goes, "It's not." He goes, "It's not a tumor. It's a fetus. It's not a tumor." And then Tony Curtis goes, "On her neck." He rocked that line. I mean, this is he pulled off a legit on her neck with a straight face. Oh my goodness. So before we get too much further into this movie, we do have a listener question from one of our favorites. Actually, our favorite, John. What do you think? Is Johnny Number our favorite?
I'd say so. And if he wasn't always, he definitely became it in the last year or so with his long, thoughtful questions.
If someone asked, I wouldn't be disingenuous when I said that he's our question-asking MVP.
I do chat with him a little bit, I don't know what to say, socially, just through Facebook, just randomly every now and then. Like, he's a cool guy.
He shares cat videos all the time, and he supports local cat rescue, so I'm a huge fan of his.
Oh, yeah, I can get behind that.
And Megan, I listened to their Best of Horror for 2018, and Johnny Numb was just saying that Claire Foy he hadn't seen her in The Crown, but he said that she's amazing and she should have been nominated for an Oscar
For Unsane.
For Unsane.
It's really good. It's unsettling. I'm not a huge horror person, but that one, that gets you.
He was throwing props at Claire Foy. They said Claire Mother Effin' Foy. That's the way they should announce her name when she does movies now. It's Claire Mother Effin' Foy. Or just Effin'. One of the two, you know. I don't want to get my PG-13 rating yet. Alright, so his question is, what are some of the best, grossest depictions of hideous gross on people or animals in cinema? One catch. You cannot mention any David Cronenberg films. My choice would be the translucent sacs that develop on the Gremlins and Gremlins 2 after they get wet, with the baby gremlins squirming around inside.
That's really cool, too.
Just that description is disgusting.
Yeah, he did a
translucent sacs.
He did a really great job. And then after they get wet with squirming around inside, I saw that. So this just proves he's a great writer, too.
Yeah, because it harkens the visual of a ready-to-hatch frog egg with the tadpole kind of flitting around inside.
Those are beautiful practical effects in Gremlins.
So as I was reading his question the first time, I didn't even, you just start coming up with ideas as you're reading the question. And the first thing that came to mind for me was from a Cronenberg movie. It was from The Brood. And then one catch, boom, he shoots down my first idea right there. When the woman basically has an external reproductive system. It is so harrowing.
I showed my students the scene in The Fly where Jeff Goldblum pulls off his fingernails.
Oh, it's lovely.
And my students just, they loved it. But I love that movie from the 80s. Still, the effects still look beautiful. So for me, you know where I went immediately? Do y'all want to know?
Sure, let's hear it.
I went to, I don't know if this is cheating or not, but I went to Slither immediately.
Ooh.
And I know there's that woman who eats a lot. She gorges herself, so that's not really a growth. But when you watch, when Michael Rooker slowly starts turning into that creature, I don't really think they're gross on him. I guess they are gross, but he just becomes very gross looking.
Chunky.
Just gooey and fat and writhy.
Yeah.
And it's just nasty.
And he just has these weird scabs and I mean, the people who did the practical effects on Slither did a fantastic job. And so, I don't know, whenever I just think about gross out type stuff, I immediately think of Michael Rooker from Slither. And then I also thought about the gremlin who became the vegetable gremlin in Gremlins.
Oh, that's right. He had delicious growths. Those looked like legit farm-grown organics, man. Like,
yeah, if that gremlin fought the mom from the first Gremlins, the mom would have made a nice broth and stew out of that gremlin.
Oh, he would have been done.
Yeah, diced. We'd have eaten that thing. What about y'all? What did you have?
Well, the first thing I thought of, I go to comedy typically, and the first thing that came to mind was Igor in Young Frankenstein. And just how his hump would move. I mean, he's pretty gross looking already because of the makeup, but the hump moving around the whole time, it's just funny, and that's what I think of when I think of a weird growth.
If we're to believe that movie, and you also brought up Robin Hood Men in Tights, with the mole that moves around.
That's pretty fun.
We have to understand these moles. If we're taking these movies seriously, that hump and that mole, they move on these people's faces.
They're sentient.
Yeah, they're sentient. So, I mean, they're not just stationary. I mean, so these are moles and growths that move on people, which has to feel weird.
And then the next place I went was Hot Shots, where her mole
Hot Shots Part 2
kept moving, but it was fake, and she takes it off.
And then she gave it to Topper.
Yeah.
Is that a real mole?
I went down a real weird wormhole on this one.
A worm mole?
Worm mole.
What about you, John?
So I had I found out it's hard to search for this online to come up with ideas.
It is hard. I was Googling all over the place, and they just kept coming up with Cronenberg movies.
Because if you throw up the word growth, you might get things about box office growth, financial growth, other uses of the word growth. If you type in tumor, you're going to get a lot of medical stuff piling in. Even if you try and write horror movies, people will refer to a horror movie that they hate as like a tumor of a blight on the genre or something. So like I just had to like walk over to my DVD racks and browse. And so I came up with actually some categories. Like one of those categories is actually a growth that is a reaction. Remember in The Mist when someone is bitten by one of those giant mist flies and the swelling makes it so like there's not even like a neck. It's this huge pulsating swelling of a growth, and something similar to that actually happens and a movie called Alien Predators from 1985, which is like a campy B movie, not really classic. And it's the same kind of gross effect. And then there are growths like in Abomination, which is a Canucksploitation movie where this guy's like abdominal tumor turns into this monster, which eventually separates itself from him, but it like attacks people while it's still attached to him. But then I started thinking of things like Basket Case, where the guy's like amorphous twin is attached to his hip and murders people, or like Kawato from Total Recall.
Yeah, I had that on there.
And even though I don't think having two heads should be a growth, when Ash starts growing that head in Army of Darkness.
Yep. Well, the eyeball, that's a very good practical effect.
Right. It's an eye, and then you see him going over a hill, like the silhouette, and you see him trying to punch the silhouette of this head. Get off me, you crazy son of a, so all this weird stuff. Like, there's all sorts, and I feel like we're missing so much that we have seen because this is so hard to research, to rally up ideas in an organized manner. But man, like, I think my favorite though is Basket Case with the murderous Siamese amorphous twin. Okay. It's like a head and an arm.
And also, I don't know if no one's ever watched this, but it's called The Last Warrior with Dolph Lundgren. And there's a goat thing there that has these pus bubbles growing on it. And the little pus bubbles, never type in big pus bubble in movie. Something gross is going to come up.
You know what else? What's that Josh Hartnett movie where there's a demon on his back, and whenever they take photos, they can see it?
Josh Hartnett movie with a demon on his back?
Yeah, it was a horror movie, one of those.
Wait, Josh Hartnett or the other Josh from Cruel Intentions?
Maybe.
There's called Shudder.
Oh, Shudder.
Oh, yeah.
Joshua Jackson.
Joshua Jackson, the American remake of the Japanese or Korean movie, yeah. And he took a picture at the end, and he saw she was like on his shoulders, and then she broke his neck.
Yeah, it's gross.
And also The Beast Within, that's more of a transformation, but The Beast Within has a really great growth happening when they find out that the kid was one that the Beast who got transferred. I don't know if you guys saw that movie, but there's
that's from like 80, right?
Yeah, and I'm not quite sure the date, but I just remember the transformation. That thing's gnarly. But I don't know, man. I'm not done talking about those pus bubbles in Last Warrior in the Dolph Lundgren movie. It's a little goat who has pus going all because it's a radiated wasteland, and there's just massive pus bubbles.
Could you stop saying pus?
Yeah, there's massive gross bubbles of white substance on him.
Ew.
And they pop.
And they pop?
Yeah.
Oh, what does that make me? Zombieland, one of the zombies had this bubble that just pops out its nose, remember? Or is that World War Z, one of the zombie movies?
Oh, the big zombie pus? Ugh. I think we should just do a pus podcast.
I don't want to hear that word anymore.
That sounds gross.
Oh, well, that was fun.
Yeah.
Thank you, Johnny Numb. You allowed me to say... I'm not going to do it again. So, this movie, The Manitou, John, do you want to give us a synopsis for it real quick?
Okay. A woman essentially gives birth to an evil 400-year-old Native American dwarf medicine man from a giant tumor on her back.
That's exactly it. IMDb did a good job. They're like, a psychic's girlfriend finds out that a lump on her back is a growing reincarnation of a 400-year-old demonic Native American spirit.
A fake psychic.
Yeah, fake psychic. And this movie was a book originally, and there is a sequel, The Manitou Returns. And
there's 6 books in the series.
Megan went
There's
down
not
a
a
wormhole.
movie sequel though, is there? Is there a movie sequel?
No, there's just it's a series of 6 books.
But the guy who wrote it he's written tons of books. He even wrote sex education books. He wrote a book about 25 years after World War II, some demonic forces are let loose of a tank in France.
Yeah, he's got an Irish mystery series with a female detective that's very popular, apparently.
Yeah, the guy's been writing for a long time, and this was his one adaptation.
And he was born in 46, I want to say.
He's been churning out books. And also, this movie was directed by William Girdler. And John, you and I were talking about how this was his last movie, and we kind of wondered why. And Megan found out the answer. Do you want to let him know?
Yeah, he was scouting locations for his 10th movie, so the next one after Manitou. And before Manitou actually had its release, he died in a helicopter crash in the Philippines.
Yeah, his helicopter hit a power line.
Whoa!
While he was scouting locations.
Whoa!
So, yeah, I mean, but this guy made a lot of... You said he made 9 movies before he was 32, John?
He was 30 when he died.
He was 30 when he died.
Yeah. That was why I was so mystified that he didn't have anything after that. I don't think that... I don't even know if IMDb even mentioned his death.
Yeah, so, I mean, but that's prolific right there. 9 movies before 30. And he directed, Grizzly? That was a relatively big film.
Right, and Day of the Animals is a famous one, even though I haven't seen it.
So he was a doer, this guy. I mean, by 30, I wasn't doing that. I was a PA on film sets. I wasn't making movies. But yeah, I don't know, this one, so John, how did you come across this movie?
So I actually came across this movie, I don't know, like 5, 6, 7 years ago at, I think it was at one of our Wizard World conventions, Mark, and there was a table where people were selling, they were selling their horror DVDs, and, some of them are ripped and some of them are legit. And I didn't know any better, but either way, I bought it. Mine turned out to be a rip because it just looks like like you bought a blank DVR disc. But he made a good cover of it. It looks like a legit DVD sleeve,
nice.
Mine. But that's how I watched it for the first time like 6 years ago. And then I watched it twice this week, which might put me among the people who have viewed the Manitou the most who are alive right now. Having seen it now 3 times.
You're in the top 10.
But now what's funny is that I don't remember if I wanted to discuss this for the podcast because it actually crossed my mind or because, as you pointed out, there's actually a Blu-ray release coming out in the near future. I might have seen that and forgotten that, and that might have had it in my head. But it's just an interesting, timely release for this podcast for people to hear about this zany movie when they see the new, Scream Factory release, I think. Is it Screamcast? Scream Factory?
We can look it up during the break, but they seem to be the one doing a lot of these movies right now.
Yeah. And of the Manitou. And again, this is one of those movies most people haven't even heard of. I'm asking some of my horror savvy friends for listener questions about the Manitou. And they're like, what's that?
And
this movie did receive a theatrical release.
Yeah, according to Wikipedia, it said it was a major hit in the theaters.
And it made some money, but I did read a funny review from Roger Ebert. Do you want me to read a quote from his about this movie?
I'm curious to hear what a real reviewer.
All right, so he goes, and then, but hold on a second. Here's yesterday's newspaper. It says here it's July 24. That would make today July 25th, explaining everything. Think back, about this time every summer after all the big summer movies have opened and the big autumn movies are in a holding pattern, and it's either too hot, too windy, too dry, or too wet for civilization to be conducted in a reasonable fashion. We always get movies like this. El Sleazo, Profundo, Trasho, Zilch.
Hey, I think that this movie actually aimed pretty high for what I consider its zaniness, and I even refer to it kind of as a B movie. But when I say that, it's not so much in terms of quality as it is in content. Like just the writing, just the premise of this, just the themes going on, especially what happens in the third act. They feel very B movie to me, executed with a theatrical level of skill.
You know what I noticed is the cinematography was done by Michael Hugo, and he had done lots of TV. So he had done the Octagon and movies before that, and he went on to do almost all of Dynasty and Melrose Place. And while we were watching this movie, Megan and I kind of thought it looked like a soap opera type movie. So this was probably filmed on a budget, and the cinematographer really filmed this. It just looked like a TV show. That's not a bad thing. Especially
with so many scenes taking place in the same doctor's office and an apartment.
But I think they had to shoot quick, and I think this guy was perfect for the job because TV cinematographers have to move so fast. So I did feel that there was a bit of a soap vibe to this show, and that's not a bad thing.
Not to discuss the scene right now because it's from later in the movie, but Burgess Meredith is in this movie, and he has a lot of long exposition dialogue cuts where I swear to God he screwed up the lines and they just kept going.
Oh, yeah, because they had him for a day, probably.
Right.
And he was like, listen, I was in Rocky 2 years ago. You're going to film me for a day, then I'm out of here. It's going to be a one shot.
Well, did I read somewhere, do you remember this yesterday? They wrote the screenplay in 3 days.
Yeah, they had to write it real quick, so the guys wrote the screenplay in 3 days for this movie.
I have no problem believing that at all.
But we did learn that it did receive several Saturn Award nominations, too, for their makeup. And so I looked up the people who did the makeup, and the guy was Tom Berman. He has been doing so there are people on film sets, they do special effects makeup, and what they'll do is they specialize in cuts and surgery. And this guy had been in Die Hard 2, Goonies, Halloween 3, Howard the Duck, Con Air, but he did Grey's Anatomy, almost every episode of Grey's Anatomy in Private Practice. And there's a lot of surgery sometimes in those shows, and he'll do the cuts. He'll do the, like incisions. That's his specialty. And he did this movie. And then the special effects guys, Frank Vanderbeer, he worked on, the Dale Tate and Frank Vanderbeer worked on the Waterfront, King Kong, Logan's Run, Flash Gordon, Clash of the Titans, Conan the Barbarian. And then Bill Hansard, one of the guys who did the props on this, did Gremlin, Scarface, Blowout, and Moonraker. So there's a lot of talent behind the camera on this film.
Right, and to clarify for our listeners, when you said King Kong and Clash of the Titans, you meant the 1979 and the 1981 movies.
Yeah, the Jeff Bridges.
Yeah.
King
and
Kong.
The original Clash of the Titans,
Not the 31. That guy's a long timer. But yeah, so I was really surprised to see the talent behind the camera on this movie.
Yeah, this movie, it aimed high. It aimed really high. It's like Babe Ruth calling his home run with a wiffle ball bat.
Yeah.
The intention is clearly there.
When he swings really hard, that he just gets the ball stuck in the bat.
Right. It just breaks the bat in half, but everyone's still impressed. Even though the ball went into the catcher's mitt, everyone's still impressed because he made contact and broke that bat.
That's why I love Shyamalan movies, like The Happening or Lady in the Water, because I just felt like he swung for the fences. And the bat may have left his hand and flew through the crowd, but I love that he swung away.
And we've advertised very clearly on the podcast. We both love The Happening for our own reasons. And I'm quite fond of The Lady in the Water. It's just I could only watch it every 5 years probably. But I like what it tries to do. I like the web of the world that it spins.
It does something different.
And I like that it's fantasy. That's the other thing. I like that it's a weird fantasy.
Oh, I can't wait for Glass.
Yeah, I'm probably going to see that this weekend. Yep.
Oh man, can't wait for that. So, do we want to jump right into this movie? Kind of talk about the plot?
We can jump right in. So, well, we already talked a little bit, by the way, about Tony Curtis. Are you gonna start in with him?
Well, yeah, I kind of have a theory about this, and we do have a listener question after the break. But I want to talk about. A lot of people were surprised that Tony Curtis was in this movie because he's an Oscar nominee. Some Like It Hot, Spartacus, great movies. However, during this time, he was in movies like The Bad News Bears Go to Japan, Sextet, Some Like It Cool, The Last Tycoon, Lepke. TV movies. He did a one episode of Shaft. The Third Girl from the Left he was in. He was in the ABC Comedy Hour. He was doing Laugh-Ins. He was just doing these movies that weren't very big. So if he did this right after Some Like It Hot, you could understand. But the fact that he's in this movie makes sense due to his filmography at the time.
Sometimes maybe I'm just making this up, but it's like sometimes maybe an actor just wants to do something totally different, and that's what this movie certainly is.
It's like how Yui Bowl got all the Jason Statham and Burt Reynolds and Matthew Lillard and Matthew Madsen, Michelle Rodriguez to be in In the Name of the King. He's like, listen guys, come swing swords and you'll each get $5 million.
Well, but looking back at it, it looks really hokey and cheesy and poorly written. But at the time, it was a big hit. So, it might not have been as low on the totem pole as we're thinking it is looking back on it.
This could have been a fun time in late July when the theaters weren't too packed. And this is not a demanding movie. And it does offer gore and TNA and... it's a breezy time. It's 90 minutes.
By the way, so this has nudity. We'll get to that later in the episode, but this has nudity, and it's not brief. Let's be clear. It is not brief. It is very clear. I get a lot of boobage in my face for a little bit, and IMDb says this was rated PG.
Well, wow.
Well, it was the 70s.
Yeah.
That was probably the least of their concerns back then.
I know that the 1968 Romeo and Juliet had plenty, not plenty, but one good long view of breasts, and it was rated G or PG at the time or whatever. But that was different. That was romantic and sincere. This is, we'll talk about it later, but I'm surprised this is PG.
So now we know why it made so much money, because 13-year-old kids during summer vacation
told their friends, right? They told their, like, Mark, want to go see some boobs?
The end of summer vacation, a bunch of 70s kids were going to the cinema to watch this because it was PG. And the parents were fine with it. I'm going to go watch the Manitou. It's PG. Okay, have fun. You want popcorn? Yeah, sure.
Because the parents were off doing coke somewhere at the disco.
Yeah, they were drinking beer and disco dancing.
And this comment comes with complete lack of us researching it beforehand. But what other horror movies were there in 1977 and 78? Okay, I mean, there were plenty. Don't get me wrong, but it's like there are like 5 or 6 big horror movies from like 77, a couple from 78, including Halloween, which came out later in the year, of course. So it's like this wasn't a time when people were being peppered. A decade earlier, there were more horror movies coming out, I think, per year than in 1978.
78 had Halloween, Piranha, Jaws 2, which a lot of people don't like, but that was a blockbuster. Invasion of the Body Snatchers. That's a very good. Oh, I Spit on Your Grave. Someone's Watching Me. Stranger in Our House, Dr. Dracula. So, Magic, Damien, Omen 2. That was actually a really big movie.
Okay, so at least
Faces
6.
of Death.
There were at least 6 that I recognize.
And so,
Halloween, Dawn of the Dead.
Oh, The Swarm. Don't you like that movie, John?
No, I don't. I haven't seen it in forever, though. I wasn't impressed with it as a kid. I hardly remember it, though. That was about the killer bee swarm, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was. What a great idea.
But, I saw that before I was studying entomology, too, so maybe I'd appreciate it differently now.
Is that what got you into entomology?
No, it just an accidental elective when I was an accounting major got me into entomology.
Now, in your review for this movie, which is at Movies, Films, and Flicks, and has been a stalwart view-getter for years. It has. You had some issues with about how big this creature grew in such a short period of time, because it did grow 7.3 millimeters per hour.
Right, they were saying the tumor was, yeah,
So what you were really wondering how big it got, because it had to have been eating thousands of calories.
Well, right. So there is some fast and loose calculations out there, and essentially for a healthy fetus, you're going to average, not every day, because the fetus grows over the course of, gestation, right? It starts out this itty bitty thing and it ends up being maybe a 10-pound thing in my case. But like the average, it's going to go through about 400 calories a day over the course of a 9-month pregnancy in a woman. That's about 77,000 calories. That's what's necessary, not what people actually eat, by the way.
Yeah.
But that's what's necessary for a perfectly healthy development. So to form these complex tissues, right? So, but she's just laying in a hospital. Like, what is she's not in a calorie surplus. Like, so yeah, I was very curious about that. In 34 hours, this thing would have been the size of a basketball. Meanwhile, our hero goes to BFE middle and nowhere, South Dakota in the middle of the movie. That was either 2 flights and a short drive or 1 flight and a long drive. He was gone for 2 days.
Yeah. And that thing grew that big.
Like, if anything, I think that thing might have grown faster than that, but I'm just wondering how she wasn't a husk of a skeleton, like one of the people who got life force sucked in the movie Life Force.
It had to have been just magic.
Movie magic.
Right. And so that's like my current view. Yes, like it's like spiritual energy, maybe, that it was feeding on.
So you're saying there's spiritual calories in the world?
Well, maybe, but either way, it is still using spiritual energy to put together carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and phosphorus in her body to make something. I want to say that's got to come from somewhere.
Now, Megan and I were talking about this last night, and we want to hear your thoughts. So the creature, the Manitou, is supposed to be a bigger... so we're saying that when they x-ray the Manitou, it stunts its growth, correct? And it hurts him. And that's why it's so mad?
Are we asking what the explanation is for why it was upset?
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't think of that, actually. That's interesting because, yeah, that was a lot of irradiation.
Because they say the laser, he was afraid of the laser. And they're like, why would a laser terrify him? Like, oh, maybe the X-rays.
Well, hold on. That laser they showed in that movie, though, that was like a Star Wars laser gun laser.
That's a real genius laser.
That would have straight up killed someone. That was Dr. Evil's laser.
That's James Bond. Like James Bond, that would have been slowly going towards his nether regions.
When he possessed that machine and it was firing like crazy during surgery, I was reminded of like Alien Resurrection or something, like where they have these crazy guns.
How much power does that laser use? Because it was wiping things out.
It eventually blows.
Yeah, it does blow.
They got Tim Allen and Sigourney Weaver's beryllium sphere from Galaxy Quest to fuel that thing. Some like crystal to like, refract it into some super powerful whatever. But yeah, so why? I mean, but at the end of the day, that thing just wanted to complete its development, and everyone kept trying to remove it. So like even when they were just coming at it with a scalpel, it defended itself, and it made the surgeon try to cut himself on the wrist.
So we gave a description of the movie, but we didn't really talk about what Manitou is.
Yeah.
So the Native American theory, according to this movie, and I'm not saying this is real life at all, but everything has a Manitou, and essentially it's an object's spirit. So that's why the creature was able to take over the scalpel and control it, and it was able to take over the laser because everything has a spirit. I guess the grass and the clouds and the objects everywhere.
And now a listener might say that's ridiculous. A man made that scalpel, but in the movie they also say even man-made objects. Later they even address a computer. They say, why don't we call the police? And like a Native American says like, no, you can't bring guns in here. The guns have a Manitou. It will turn the guns against the users.
And also the Manitou takes over that woman that is working with Tony Curtis, and she throws herself downstairs.
So I want to. Can we talk about that scene?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, so this was during the first surgery scene. This is, we're 15, 20 minutes into this movie, right? And they're just doing standard surgery to biopsy or remove this tumor at the time they thought it was. The surgery is being conducted by the guy who, in his own words, wrote the book on tumors.
And he has Cadillacs.
Even though later he said, oh, no, wait, that's a fetus. That's not a lot of credibility for him. Someone should repo that Cadillac. But so they're going in, the Manitou is defending itself. Now, while it's defending itself, Tony Curtis is doing another one of his fake psychic tarot reading cards for an old lady. And I want to know, why on earth, while the Manitou is defending itself in a surgery room, it is also simultaneously possessing an elderly woman that it's never encountered before to do a rain dance, hover down a hallway, and fall down some stairs?
Well, we do learn multiple times that it has monstrous power, and it's amazingly strong, and it's pure ethnic occult art. And it's the greatest medicine man of all time. No spirit ignored him. No demon denied him. Prayer won't help. Churches won't help.
Did they really mix Native American lore and magic with the occult?
Yeah. Pure ethnic occult art is what Burgess Meredith says.
Well, we have to remember they didn't care about offending people in the 70s.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, they're saying he's the greatest medicine man of all time, John.
But that explains its power. I'm asking why.
Oh.
Why did it choose a random old lady across town that it had never encountered?
Wait, didn't Tony Curtis didn't he take her to the doctor? So it had already annoyed him. So but he would have taken over him, not her.
Yeah, I don't know why it picked this old lady.
Wait, he loses customers.
Oh, so the Manitou wants to cheat him out of $30.
Yeah, and maybe she comes to him every week and has a standing appointment. Now that money's gone.
Okay, I'll buy that. That is an explanation much more than the movie gave.
He's hitting him where it hurts. Tony Curtis will have to get cheaper beer.
That shyster will have to get Schlitz.
The real answer is because it gets him to go to the hospital and bug the doctor, right? It moves the story along. But I think the next scene is actually very funny because he ends up at the hospital because why would he connect these two things? And he's yelling at the doctor about having to do something, and the doctor's really annoyed at him and saying he's not going to help. And he picks up the phone, and there's this woman yelling at him, and that's when we get to the lasers.
Right. That's when we get to the most powerful medical laser in the history of lasers.
It's a very random sequence of events that strings this movie along.
See, this is why I come back to that B-movie vibe. It's the randomnosity of the events that happen. It's like some of those 80s movies where every time someone dies, it's like in a totally random way by some spiritual force. If there's not even any pattern to it, it's just like this. We've got these props. Let's make something happen.
I mean, yeah, it's
All right, we paid for this medical office, so you guys got to use it to the fullest. That means that an old lady's going down those steps.
Yeah, I mean, they used every inch of that facility that they were in, the hospital.
and so wait, and then after this happens, though, they keep the woman in the hospital.
Yep.
And the other thing is that after all those laser beams are going off and everything, like, all the people involved are still showing up to work the next day.
I am not going anywhere near those lasers.
Like, this is a little...
Yeah,
like, we're totally ignoring what happened the next day.
No one's very upset about the whole thing. Not until the demon turns the hospital into an ice cave, essentially. That's when people start to not show up to work. But
a Wampa lair.
Yeah, well, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Batman and Robin's lair.
But it was a...
All right, how about this? Let's take a break. Let's go do some ice skating because we have it built for us right now. When we come back, we'll talk more Manitou. Be right back. Welcome back to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I cannot ice skate. However, something amazing happened while we were on break. John Levengood, our resident songster, belted out some tunes about the Manitou, and boy, do we want to hear it again. Sing it, John.
You gotta cue me up, though.
All right, so, John, singing the famous song Manitou in the Ice.
Because you gave the From Outer Space.
Wait, what?
You said he's back from outer space.
All right, here we go. The Manitou's back from outer space.
I'm in a hospital and all is cold with a Manitou in my face.
I should have removed that stupid lump. I should have. I don't know. Yeah, that's fun. I love it.
I should have put the scalpel down and ignored that laser beam. That Manitou is aiming energy all at me.
Oh, no, go Manitou.
I mean, I'm no Eminem from 8 Mile, but I try.
Dude, you busted that out, John. I'm proud of you, man. Back in the day, if we would have put that on you during the riffing, you would have hated it. But now you're busting out like fully formed songs.
Right now, I'm actually getting my composure. I'm like, no, Mark, you got to cue it. Do it.
The remaining 45 minutes is just you freestyle singing.
What they can't see though is me like bobbing around wearing my Kurt Russell shirt because I'm wearing this.
Hey, everybody relax. Maybe that's why you're so relaxed, is you have the Everybody Relax shirt on.
This is kind of my lounging around the house tank top, my Everybody Relax Kurt Russell shirt now. It's been that I probably wear this every week.
Ooh, it's a good shirt.
Every week, but so we were just referring to, as this movie progresses, how the Manitou, who eventually hatches, if you will, from her skin sac tumor, which is kind of gross. Simple effects, right? But it was just like a latex bag over a dude with his hand over her back or something.
Her skin became very thin.
Yeah, I have a feeling that she would have been a really high risk for a post-operative infection after that.
Oh, because she just
even bleeding out, because she doesn't get tended to. That thing just pops up, and they have to deal with it.
Because they can't cross the circle.
The sand or the salt.
I do want to say, Michael Inara as John Singing Rock in this movie he was nominated for an award, a Best Supporting Actor Saturn Award in this movie.
This?
Yes, and I think he should get a retroactive award for just pulling off the silliest dialogue. I got to make this circle, and no one breaks a circle. You can't break the circle. Now listen up, you little Manitou. I'm here to fight you, and he's doing the chanting and all this stuff. He does that dialogue with such a straight face and conviction and no trace of irony. And I think he does the movie a big time justice with his performance.
Yeah, he has this line with the doctor where the doctor goes, "It's impossible." And he's like, "Is that your science, doctor?" What does that even mean? Of course it's not science.
And then he goes something about hope. He's like, hope.
No, love is the key.
Oh, love is the key, he tells Tony Curtis. And they also say hope is for saints and fools.
Okay.
And his seriousness, though, is probably why some people consider that Tony Curtis did such a disservice to the movie, even though I don't agree. it might be a lens that magnifies the ridiculousness of some of Tony Curtis's lines. And again, he's given the most ridiculous lines in the movie.
On her neck?
Well, no, not the, like, remember when he's talking about how, so Singing Rock is explaining everything about Manitous and all these things have Manitous and, you know, we got to be careful, otherwise this Manitou is going to become as powerful as Geechee Manitou, which is basically an abstract notion of God or the supreme existence of some sort, right? Mm-hmm. And Tony Curtis is like, well, you need to call up Geechee Manitou. He's like, you do not just call Geechee Manitou. He's like, oh yeah? Well, he's going to be getting a call from me. Collect.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just like, what? It's like, hold on, Tony Curtis. You just spat out such a ridiculous line, and then you just storm out of the room. Were you storming to a payphone?
Yeah, I thought that was funny how he tacked collect on there, and then Mark and I got into this whole conversation on stuff that you don't think will date you, but does, because how many people call collect nowadays?
Yeah. I mean, that's a jerky move for that demon, though. He's going to cost that demon money, Megan.
Well, what if the demon doesn't accept the charges? You better have a really good intro line. You know, what's that? The one where the guy has a baby and he calls all the family members and he's like, hey, it's Brent had a baby, it's a boy.
So, wait, you brought up the charges, and I want to go back to the recruitment of Chief Singing Rock in the first place.
Yeah.
When Tony Curtis either took one flight and a long drive or two flights and a short drive to somewhere in South Dakota from Sacramento, yeah, when he probably would have come back, there would have been like 6 Manitous. It would have been like Gremlins after all that time. But so he goes and Chief Singing Rock's like, no, I'm not going to do it. Oh, wait, you know what? I'll do it, but my fee will be $100,000 to whatever Native American education fund. And Tony Curtis just said, you got it.
Yeah.
And then no one ever mentions it again. You know the hospital isn't going to pay for this stuff. They're for making money. Where is this coming from? He's making $20 a pop from lonely old ladies lying about tarot cards. And that was in 1978.
And he's losing money because of the Manitou.
Well, I thought that was funny. Before he ever left, when he's like, I have to go get a medicine man, and someone goes, really? Well, yeah, some still exist out there. He's like, well, what about payment? And that guy that they had gone to visit, the expert in this material, he's like, well, they have their own terms of payment and honor. But then the guy actually asked for money. So I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, he goes up on a long talk. He's like, they won't cross the street for $1 million. And then the guy goes, I want $100,000 for a charity.
Dude, $100,000 in 1978 though, man. So I had a VHS and I was watching this like over a decade ago, and it was like of Terminator 2 or something. But the VHS from like the 90s was talking about how, holy crap, the Dow Jones Industrial Average just broke 1,000. Today it's over 20,000. Like, I'm not saying that it's 1/20th of the money for whatever figures that we hear, but I mean, $100,000, that would be more than $200,000 today. He basically said, give me $250,000 or $500,000. And a charlatan who lives in a very small apartment. Remember, there were no walls between his kitchen and living room.
Yeah.
Like, just the dining room had those little doors where he did his tarot readings. Like, I don't even know how he could afford to fly out to South Dakota in the first place.
Saving for a rainy day or a demon infestation?
Yeah, payment plan?
Maybe, but like...
That's why he calls collect. He saves money.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
Right. But he's like, you got it. No one ever mentions this again. It's forgotten. This is B-movie madness when this happens.
Well, he is a shyster. We know that.
Right. Yeah, he just lied. The sequel is actually a horror movie where Chief Manitou is just hunting him down.
Yeah, I want John Singing Rock just hunting Harry. Yeah, right?
Dude,
just, hey,
and then Harry hits him with his car and kills him, and he becomes the wooden Native American cigar.
Oh, the statue
Indian
that they
creep show.
summon up through the
Creep
table.
show.
Yeah.
That was very odd. So, full disclosure, we watched this on YouTube, and the framing was all off. So that was a very strange scene to watch, as the statue, all covered in black oil or something, comes up through the middle of the table. You're like, what am I even looking at right now?
During the seance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is interesting, that seance. Like, so when I first saw this, and I was just a little less intuitively comprehensive about horror, even though I had seen a lot of horror. I read how a lot of people compared this to The Exorcist, and at the time I was like, I don't see that. Whereas now I'm like, of course they compared it to The Exorcist. This is like The Exorcist playbook, because they spend more than half the movie simply trying to figure out what's wrong.
Yeah, and then you bring in a really good-spirited John Singing Rock, who's like the priest.
So she goes to the doctors. We have the doctors. They don't know what's going on. She goes to her ex-boyfriend psychic just because she's desperate. He then turns to who he considers to be a real psychic, and they do a seance. And then they go find this expert on Manitous, and then they go find a medicine man. I mean, this is a model that was later adopted by the Poltergeist movies, where so much of the movie, while you get little blips, really forwarding along your knowledge of what's going on, most of it is the characters trying to figure out what is going on, how do we deal with this, who has the answers. That was more than half the movie. And then in the end, it erupts in this totally chaotic effect scheme, right?
Yeah, I mean, the effect scheme, that thing blew my... But can we talk about one thing real quick before we go, is the zombie and the lizard creature, John?
Oh, let's please... Wait, actually, before we get to that, can we talk about the Alka-Seltzer?
That doesn't work, right?
So, yeah, at some point, Tony Curtis goes in, and it's right before the shitstorm of random things happens. And he goes and he just drops some Alka-Seltzer and some water in front of a nurse. And it doesn't work. And he makes some joke about these things should come with instructions. But the fact is that they're not working. Are we to assume that the nature of the world has just begun to transform because of the presence of the Manitou?
I think the Manitou is messing with him.
Well, doesn't he try twice? Doesn't he go for two? And she's like, it's just not your lucky day.
Yeah. And then he actually has another glass, and he swishes them back and forth. Like, again, it felt like a scene where the director was like, get him an Alka-Seltzer. And someone couldn't find an Alka-Seltzer, so they got one of those Body of Christ tabs, those little, bread wafers. And so when he dropped it in, it didn't fizz. And then Tony Curtis is just like ad-libbing because he doesn't know what to do because the Alka-Seltzer isn't working.
Oh, wow. I mean, they didn't have the budget for real Alka-Seltzer.
It almost looked like an accident. But then, now having seen this movie 3 times, I'm instead viewing, because when you first see that, that's before he turns this place into a Winter Wonderland Wampa lair. It's before you understand his ability to transform space and time. So maybe that was just a poor way of harbingering the way that the world of this building was going to change.
I just think he had it out for Tony Curtis. He loses his customers. He can't have relief.
Like, you're going to have a stomach ache while you deal with it.
He's just trying to ruin his day.
Yeah, he's having a bad... I think that's the way I interpreted it. And not like... I guess I like what you said about the world turning upside down, but I just like that the Manitou's like, you're not getting that Alka-Seltzer, Tony.
I feel like what John said actually makes a lot of sense.
Oh, it does. I do too. I didn't think about it that far.
I only came up with that after seeing this movie thrice, though. They did not do a good job, if that's what they meant.
I don't think I could do it.
So the world's upside down, and all right. So this leads me to question: how powerful is the Manitou? Because it unleashes a zombie that gets beat up immediately, and then it has a lizard creature that kind of bonks a dude in the stomach, and
bites his hand.
Yeah, bites his hand and then disappears.
He holds out to it.
Yeah, and then he's like the guy from Prometheus. So he deals with the lizard, and then those two things disappear quickly. So what? Does the Manitou not have all its power yet?
Well, he still hadn't broken the circle at the time.
Oh, so he's just kind of doing what he can.
Yeah, they mentioned even earlier, the chief was even saying in the beginning, like, okay, this circle will hold him until he builds up his strength, and then nothing can contain him. And so I think that, again, maybe a little ill-exposed in the movie, I think that was just him. He had the ability to summon this reptilian demon from Native American mythology, but he only had enough power to partially manifest it, or to give it one little nip, like a dog to a mailman, and he had the power to raise this dead body, but it was very zombie-like. It was very, wasn't very menacing.
No,
One zombie is rarely menacing.
They took that thing out easy.
The X-ray question mark it stunted his growth, so maybe it stunted his power. He's not gonna be full power. I don't know.
Yeah, so maybe when he gets the full power, it's not even what the full power, because he said that you hurt me.
And the circle we're talking about is when the medicine man got there, he poured a circle of salt or sand.
Special sand, it looks like.
Around her hospital bed where the thing was inside of her. And that was supposed to protect everything.
I was expecting the Manitou to go through the wall.
Because just bust through it like Hulk?
Yeah, like that Kool-Aid man, because he didn't put any sand there.
Well, instead, he felt the need to show his highly powerful telekinetic abilities to part the sand like Moses.
Yeah, it starts smoking backwards.
It was a very slow, dramatic stop motion sand spreading, though. Like, it was like, oh.
But what Mark said is really funny. I noticed that as well. He gets to the bed is pushed up against the wall, like most hospital rooms, if you've seen one, and the line of sand stops right at the wall. He doesn't go across the back of the bed. And I was like, isn't that a problem?
I would love it if the Manitou just bust through the wall. Oh, yeah!
Or to be really silly, what if he just jumped over it?
What if he went up or down like it's a cylinder surrounding him?
So, yeah. Interesting.
But it just doesn't encapsulate that wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I love that this movie made it into the theaters.
No, it was a quote-unquote major hit in the theaters.
I love that it was a hit.
They should have called someone else.
Then, wait.
I mean, they explained why they didn't call the cops.
Yeah, because it won't matter. Oh, he'll take the guns, and they'll use the guns on themselves.
Like the scalpels that were...
But with that in mind, like, isn't there anyone else they could have called?
Well, Ghostbusters weren't a thing yet.
I guess they are strapped for time because this thing grew really fast, right? Yeah. But like, I don't know. I feel like they kind of, and I guess they didn't know what they were dealing with until they got Chief Rolling Rock Beer, Chief Singing Rock. But I always felt like they should have called someone else. You know, it's not until like they're in the Wampa lair. And you're saying, Mark, were you upset by the property damage, by the way, when it earthquaked the building?
Yeah.
I know you hate property damage in movies.
Well, it's just, like, I was pretty impressed with how the stuff was flying around, actually. This is one of the rare movies, because they didn't show the outside of the building. They just showed couches flying around. So, or tables flying around. So
they did a shaky Star Trek cam.
Yeah. And
at the very least, they've destroyed that floor of the hospital. It's completely covered in ice. There's got to be a lot of damage from all the water.
And once it melts, it's going to seep through. That's going to cause mold. That hospital is going to be renovated.
What about the last battle with the creature when they walk into her hospital room and all of a sudden you're just looking at a galaxy? It's black with stars and galaxies.
Because during the earthquake, if you will, the Manitou summoned the Great Old One / what you Christians would call the devil, right?
Yeah.
So he summoned the devil. Even though Chief Singrock's like, you don't just call Geechee Manitou for help. Well, the Manitou is calling the biggest, baddest guy he can find. And so I feel like we're just bringing a couple like fake psychics to a gunfight here.
Yeah.
But so he does that, right? And then they come up with this idea to get all the computers and everything in the hospital to work for them, right? Because they all have Manitous.
Yeah.
But like by the argument of the guns from the police earlier, couldn't it just turn... Go ahead.
I had this same question as you were bringing it up. I was asking this to Mark last night. I was like, I don't understand.
Were they good Manitous? So maybe the gun Manitous are bad Manitous.
How could they rely on the computers when they couldn't rely on the guns or the scalpel?
And then for some reason, the Manitou of the computers decides instead of fighting the Manitou shaman, it will instead imbue the Manitou's host with electric powers.
Okay, so I had a theory on that because Tony Curtis gives her this whole speech and he's pouring out his heart essentially to her. And John Singing Rock had said back when he was first being picked up in Nebraska that love is the key. So we kind of came up with the idea that his love for her somehow makes her more powerful and the computer's Manitou goes into her. And
when it happened though, he was actually talking to the Manitou, not to her. He said, "Look here, Mr. Manitou," and he was talking trash to the Manitou.
Yeah, but it was still his emotion for her.
Okay. I take that.
He did give the Manitou a stern talk.
Mm-hmm.
Right, we're gonna have a question about that in a few minutes.
Yeah. And so we'll get to that in a little bit. So yeah, he's stern talking him, and then we get an electric light show.
What I thought weirder here than her toplessness was the facial expression she kept making, where she was shooting her hands out and these beams are going to the Manitou, and she just kept opening her mouth randomly. It was very odd.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you have not lived until you've seen a needlessly topless Susan Strasberg on a floating bed shooting colorful cartoon laser beams from her jazz hands at a demonic midget in extra-dimensional outer space.
Yeah.
While a light devil hurls meteors at her.
Those are meteors?
Didn't they look like me? I thought they were like meteors, like rocks. Like it looked like. I think
they look like
outer
rocks.
space. I think it was like Planet Klendathu was hurling meteors from their asteroid belt at Earth and Starship Troopers.
They went
and that's why they had such bad aim.
He went full Thanos. Maybe Thanos ripped that off in the Infinity War.
I like how
Is it me? That devil had the worst aim ever.
Worst. Well, maybe the beams of disco light deflected him.
It could be that too.
It's funny at the very end how Tony Curtis has obviously not been listening this entire movie to anything anyone has said from the beginning. Any of the experts, because they kept saying that it grows and then it comes back and then it resurrects, and they just keep repeating this to us over and over. And he goes, "Well, it's dead now." And John Singing Rock goes, "No, it's not. It's gonna come back eventually." That's the whole story here.
Tony Curtis was too busy thinking about his beer. He wanted to dance.
Well, but so that was kind of an interesting little, I don't want to call it a plot hole, but another thing that desired a little clarification, because if every Manitou was always preserved, then on a long enough timeline, the Manitou of a pebble at the beach could become Geechee Manitou power.
I think it was only the medicine man Manitous that did
just
this.
From his. So, but does he preserve his reincarnations? Does he just get to try again?
Well, he's magical.
Well, don't they get more powerful with each reincarnation? So he's going to be even more powerful in the next one.
Well, I don't know if this one counted or not.
Which is how you get 6 books out of this series.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It was very Dragon Ball Z with the power levels. Like he just gets more and more powerful every time.
Doctor Who-ish.
Yeah. The thing just keeps... You're right, though. He had terrible aim with those asteroids. I didn't know who he was shooting those things at.
Right. You wouldn't even know, because it was that bad.
Yeah, they were just kind of flying through the endless space that now inhabited that room.
And while the lady kept opening up her mouth weirdly and I love... This movie, I'll tell you what, though. This movie has some solid performances from John Singing Rock, and it has personality to it, which I like. This is a movie that... It does not feel stock. We were talking about remakes earlier. It doesn't have... It's a movie that has personality, and that's why I liked it.
Yeah, I got to come back to the breasts, though. You see a lot of her breasts for a movie that's PG.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And while we're at it, even though it's very shadowy, you also see the medicine man's balls.
It's an equal opportunity movie.
Right. When he first hatches out and he goes from crawling, which reminded me, by the way, I think that influenced Poltergeist 2. When he regurgitated what turned out to be that demonic, partially formed man. Yeah. But either way, when he comes to his feet and gets in kind of like that meditation position, we see his balls. And I don't think that they thought to put him in underwear and then add prosthetic balls. Those were hanging balls.
I'm so glad we had a weird crop on our screen, because I'm pretty sure we missed that.
It would have been interesting being like a special effects guy on this film during these scenes, because you just got some lady shooting laser beams, you have a naked Manitou, and you're just sitting there going, what is this movie? At some point someone calls for makeup. In between her laser blasts, like, cut, we need makeup, and they're like doing her face like, no, get her breasts. And the makeup guy's like, why is she topless again? When she got up in the bed, she still had her arms through the little sleeves of her hospital gown. So in other words, as she roused herself in her floating outer space bed, she disrobed it. Even though it was hanging a little low, she pulled her arms through the sleeves, Mark. As if that would help her shoot lasers. Well, when I used to shoot lasers, I did it best naked.
Well, it's not very scandalous when you're topless.
Yeah. Well, think about this. Think about this, Meg. The stormtroopers had clothes on, and their lasers never hit. Their
True.
blasters never hit.
So maybe they shouldn't be wearing.
Maybe they just needed helmets.
They couldn't even walk through a doorway effectively.
Well, you know what though? I broke down the science of that, John, and
Of the lasers or the doorway?
the doorway. So the reason that stormtrooper hits his head because they saw into that door, and when the door lifts, it doesn't go all the way up. So that stormtrooper was thinking all business and used to the doors going all the way up, but it malfunctioned because they didn't open it correctly. So
The visor isn't very good.
yeah, so he just I think every single time he's ever walked through a door in the Death Star, he's never had to worry about that. But just
he's
this
just
one,
very cavalier and doesn't pay attention.
so he's just thinking, I gotta save the Death Star, and then he whamps his head because it doesn't open all the way.
So it was Drax inside of that suit, and he's just like, I was thinking of something else.
Yeah, exactly. Drax. I was thinking of something else. I don't know. That's my theory, John. He hit his head because of the malfunctioning door.
I'll take that. I'll accept it.
Hey, I'm dropping some totally fictional facts right now on you.
He's thinking of what he can do to impress Lord Vader.
Yeah.
It sounds legit.
Part of me hopes that Vader watched that thing on a loop later on and just made fun of the stormtrooper. Like they saved that footage before the Death Star blew up, and now it's a GIF in that world. Hey, you want to answer this question from Gina from Fort Lauderdale?
Okay, now Gina dropped a bomb on us. She basically dropped like a 5-part question here. Okay. So yeah, Gina from Fort Lauderdale. By the way, I was in Africa with her last year.
Nice.
So Gina asks, what machinery do you hope is nearby when you have to summon their Manitou to defeat a demon?
Okay, so for me, I would want it to be an espresso machine.
So it would burn him?
And I could have coffee while the battle happens.
Okay.
For me, battling a Manitou is exhausting. So I want it to be pulling its weight, using its coffee spirit. Also, it's energized too because of all the coffee. And then I'm just drinking coffee while watching it. That's what I want.
You don't think you're going to spill your coffee and burn yourself when you're dodging those meteors from the Light Devil?
No, because I had been watching Tony Curtis dance and drink beer from earlier.
So you're drinking it out of a snifter.
I have a pinky up, and I'm moving, and he's terrible aim with the asteroid, so I just got to sit right next to it. I don't have to duck, dip, dodge, dodge at all.
Dip,
thwip. So I know this sounds really
weird. You were going for duck and weave there.
Yeah, a duck weave. I mean, I don't have to do any of that. I'm just drinking coffee, watching it while I'm dancing too. But that's because I like dancing. And the disco light show is on. If there was a radio / coffee maker, that's what I'd pick. What about you, John?
I want 4. I want Bumblebee. I want the good T-800 Arnold Schwarzenegger. I want Johnny 5, and I want Wally, because all 4 of those robots already have heart.
Oh wow! So you went really practical. I just went because I wanted to drink coffee.
Well, at first I was actually, because me, my mind is like horror. At first I'm like, oh, we'll get the Mangler and the Mortal Engines machines and the Event Horizon. That'll kick the crap out of it. I'm like, wait, they already have evil in them. I don't know how that'll turn out.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, you don't want evil more. That would suck if you're fighting the Manitou and the Event Horizon.
Pretty much. Well, and the Event Horizon is purportedly already possessed by his fluctuating gaslight devil. So I mean that creates I don't know, when you summon the machine, does it have to sign a conflict of interest form in this fight? It's like, I'll fight the Manitou, but I can't fight the devil because I'm possessed by the devil.
Oh, because he does summon the devil. So it'd be like the devil versus the devil.
Right, that's the devil's machine, but the machine has a Manitou.
Well, I want this. I want to see paperwork being signed before a Manitou battle.
I mean, this is going to be as complicated as Rodney King arguing before the Buster Douglas fight.
Well, if you think about this, during this movie, there's a famous line, "Don't be an administrator."
That's right. No matter what, never be an administrator.
So we're thinking about this right now, and that could happen in this movie. Megan, did you think of any appliances?
Appliances, jeez. Could I just take the Infinity Gauntlet and snap him out of existence forever?
Would that take everyone else out?
Yeah.
But don't you only have a 50-50 shot?
Oh yeah.
But this isn't my world.
What if it took out the Chief and Tony Curtis?
According to Mark, movies like this exist in an alternate dimension, so I don't care.
Yeah, so Megan knows it's gonna work.
That's fair.
Either that or you'd have to come up with something. I came up with an invention that would work. It's just not real. It would be something that you'd blast at it, it would scatter its particles completely without killing it, and then you'd trap it in some sort of device, and then it couldn't be reborn because it never died.
A giant shop vac. And
it goes to the containment unit in Ghostbusters.
And it just sucks.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it just sucks up the
But
Manitou.
it would keep it in stasis so it doesn't die and it can't be reborn stronger.
So I would do a coffee machine and one of the plasma packs or whatever they're called from Ghostbusters.
Oh, the proton packs, yeah.
I would take a proton pack, one of those things that trap it, and coffee.
Okay, so
I'm
continuing...
trying to neutralize the problem.
Meg's trying to neutralize.
I'm not trying to kill it and let it come back again.
That's true. There's value to that.
That makes a good point.
So when the chief basically says, like, oh no, it's Manitou lives on, like, shouldn't he have sounded more nervous?
The whole tagline for the movie is, evil does not die, it waits to be reborn.
Oh, sorry, I jumped on you. So, I guess it's been 400 years since the last one, right?
I don't know if it was 400 years since the last incarnation or 400 years since the first record of Spumacus, the Medicine Man.
Oh. Yeah, I like Megan's plan. Let's just trap it. Let's just put it in a giant Magneto cage where he can't...
Because if it was 400 years since the first record of this Medicine Man, which would have been his first incarnation, then like basically every 50 to 80 years, he pops up again.
Oh, so then John Singing Rock, he won't have to deal with it, so he doesn't care.
Yeah, like his dad might have dealt with the last incarnation.
Ooh.
That's the prequel. It's one of those prequels that looks like a remake. It's basically the same. It's just like, this is Chief Singing Rock Sr.
Oh, it's like the Thing prequel.
Right.
I kind of want to go on Goodreads now and just look at the synopsis for all of the following books.
Look at the synopsis for the second one. All right, John, you want to read the second question?
So, all right. So her second part, this is about it. It's all Tony Curtis stuff. So how did Curtis get involved with this? And when she asked this, she meant the actor with respect to the movie. And then maybe it's because no one could give that demon a stern talking to like Tony Curtis could. And on that note, what would have happened if Karen, for whatever reason, wasn't around when Curtis gave that demon shaman a stern talking to?
Oh, so if he said, I'm doing this for love, and then she wasn't there to hear that.
Right. Well, would all the computers just have zapped the Manitou, or would they have given her power to someone else and she would have had to come over, but in that time maybe the building and Tony Curtis get zapped by the Manitou and the devil?
Would the computers have heard it?
Well, maybe.
So then the computers are like, hey, Karen didn't hear it. So, but we're going to help her out because Tony's lecturing the Manitou.
Like, but what if they carted her off somehow safely?
Oh, just got her out of there.
I'm confused.
Yeah, like what if she wasn't literally there?
So, what if she wasn't there? And
Who is she?
Karen, who had the bubble burst out of her back. So she's not there to do the electric light show on the Manitou, and it's just Tony Curtis or Harry. His name's Harry, but I call him Tony Curtis.
Given that stern talking to,
yeah.
Like what would happen?
I think the computers would.
Maybe it would go into him.
Yeah, the computers would go into him, and then he would laser light show the Manitou.
And as for how Tony Curtis got involved with this in the first place, I think he was just drunk and wandered onto the set, and then they just went with it. Because that makes total sense for his behavior in the first scene when we meet him, dancing around. They're like, Tony, we'll give you another beer. If you do this scene, at the end of the scene, you just get a beer out of that fridge, and we're just going to keep rolling.
There's a PA off set with a chalice of beer, just going, Tony. Tony's like, I'm going to do every line in one take. I'm only going to work 3 hours a day, and I'm only on set for 15 days. And I get free beer. Do
you think it took that long?
I would say the shooting schedule. I researched the crap out of these things. I couldn't find anything, but I would say this was due to all the special effects and sets, this is probably 25 days, 30 days. I mean, right, Burgess Meredith, that was really fast. They shot that in a day.
There was so much information in that.
You know what? I'm going to say 20 days, John. I'm saying 20 days, 4 weeks. 4 weeks it took to shoot this, 1 month.
Final part of Gina's multi-part extravaganza is, oh, well, this is more of a statement. Okay, we're going to react to this. This is more of a statement or conjecture, but I really did see elements of a lot of my favorite movies and shows in this. It's like a mix between The Twilight Zone and Alien with an appropriate amount of camp and Burgess Meredith.
I love in the scene when they're at Burgess Meredith's place and they go upstairs and there's just the heaviest amount of spider webs I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, see, he says, I don't get up there much. I've been very busy. It's like, have you been busy for the entirety of your 80-year life?
Yeah, he has not been there for over a year to have that thick of a spider web.
I think it's been a century.
That
is like going through Castle Dracula's forgotten spare bedroom closet.
Oh, remember on Dracula Dead and Loving It when the guy gets stuck in the spider's web, isn't it? Or the dust? And he gets wrapped up in it. The raspberry. So yeah, he had not been up there for a year. I love that moment. And I just love everything that he just dropped on people. And then it turned out to be a lot of wrong, kind of. I mean, he sent him to the medicine man, but he also said that he wouldn't accept payment.
I like how that they're explaining everything to Dr. Snow, and at first he goes, that's not real.
Yeah.
They made that stuff up. It was based on myths and fairy tales. And then they go, no, it's real. And they explain it. He's like, well, you got a big problem. Yeah, I mean, that's his entire reaction.
You do have one hell of a problem. He gives some
disclaimer. He's kind of like, well, hypothetically, or, well, if this was real, he gives like 89 like caveats throughout the course of all this. Like
pure ethnic occult art. Monstrous power. Amazingly strong. Watch out for the spider webs. I loved it. This is 2 years after Rocky, too, so he was on a high in this movie. He probably got free beer for his date of shooting.
I'll bet that it was his idea to be clenching a book to his breast when he opened the door for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think...
Like, I'm just in the middle of some academic readings, but yes, please, come in.
I don't think 29-year-old William Girdler had any control over Tony Curtis or Burgess Meredith.
I don't think anybody at that time in their lives did.
Yeah. Tony Curtis has showed up on set.
They were like what I hear Bruce Willis is now. They're just going to do their thing their way, and you're going to go with it or you're going to have a problem.
I think that all started for Bruce Willis on Cop Out when he worked with Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
I
think we should do it this way.
Yeah. Well, I read these books, and they were going for some shots, and Kevin Smith's like, yeah, set up the camera with that lens. And then Bruce Willis is like, wait, what lens do you think about doing on this? And Kevin Smith's like, I don't know what lenses are. And Bruce Willis just yelled at Kevin Smith about, how do you not know what lenses are? What do you mean? How many movies have you directed? So I thought that was a pretty funny...
I'd just say I'm not the director of photography.
Yeah, that's right. But, no, I don't know, John. So final thoughts about this movie?
This movie is preposterous, and it is a mainstream theatrical with B-movie-ness. And if you like B-movies, and if you want to see something of the likes that you really haven't seen, you should see this. And it's not because of some weird gross special effect. There's not really a lot of that. It's just, it aims high. And despite playing from the Exorcist playbook, it feels like nothing I've seen before. And that's nice to say, having seen as much stuff as we have.
That makes sense. It is like nothing. I never thought I'd see a disco space battle with asteroids and disco lights flying at a naked Manitou. So, yeah, I mean, it gets a recommendation in my book. What about you, Megan?
I mean, this definitely makes the case for Kevin Bacon movie with the dancing, losing words, Footloose. Why they think music and dancing and disco is so evil. This is the root of it.
This is the root of it?
But jokes aside, if you plan to watch this movie, I would definitely wait for the Blu-ray release. Don't watch it on YouTube.
Yeah, watch the Blu-ray so you can see everything. And you know, John says you can see everything, so pause it.
I mean, yeah.
Are you gonna buy the Blu-ray, John?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll buy it right away, but honestly, I'll probably have to either wait at least a year to watch this again, or I gotta find some people who would be excited to see it with some beer.
At least.
And by the way, my recommendation to watch this, it's not like, oh, you're a fan of horror, watch this alone on a Friday, which I will do. If you're really adventurous, do that. But if you're not super adventurous and cavalier in your choices, have a friend around and have a couple beers, because this is probably more fun to share with someone and giggle about it as you watch it.
Probably share it with people who like these kind of things.
Host your own Bad Movie Tuesday.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We used to do Bad Movie Tuesdays. This would be perfect for a Bad Movie Tuesday.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, this is John. Any shout outs before we head out?
Well, just Big thanks to Gina. By the way, Gina was actually watching this movie when she came up with these questions while she was curating insects at Broward College's collection. And you'd think she'd get in trouble, but her boss is a good friend of mine. And he said, I watched her watch that movie as she pinned and labeled insects. So he evidently gave her blessing. So shout out to Broward College. and also, again, thanks to Johnny Numb. Mark was talking about his podcast. That's the one that he does with Billy Crash with Crash Palace Productions. That's The Last Knock. They also did the worst horror movies of 2018.
What did they talk about? I haven't listened to that yet.
So I've been listening to this time of year. I'm kind of catching up on everyone's best of 2018 and in their case, worst of as well. So it's all kind of a blur. I just remember that Johnny tends to pick things that simply weren't awesome. And then Billy seems to pick things that he's like, I'm upset that these were made.
Got it.
But shout out to both of them. They've been big friends to the pod and they're good guys. I appreciate their opinions. And thanks for the listener questions. Those are mine.
And we're on Spotify now, so go to Spotify and click favorite us on Spotify. Also, make sure to rate, review, and subscribe. Megan, do you have any shouts?
I'm excited for Happy Death Day to you.
Oh my gosh!
Ooh, yes,
that's coming out in a month. That's coming out February 14th.
I know, I can't wait.
That's gonna be fun.
That's gonna be a good one.
We learned about that movie from John.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
From who?
I kind of like, I'm not going to watch this movie. Then you bought it and you put it on Vudu and then we watched it and really enjoyed it. And we did a podcast about which you should listen to.
And we should do another one.
Yeah, I hadn't watched it prior to, because I said I wanted to watch it. I was hearing good things and you're like, oh, I bought it. It's on Vudu. So then I watched it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I totally forgot that.
All right. So we're going to head out. We're going to actually pour some beers, stick our pinkies out and dance disco music. So for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, John Levengood, and Megan Hoffmeyer, this is Movies, Films, and Flicks. We will see you next week.